Hi, everyone. We're going to get started, so if you could take a seat. All right. Welcome to the March 26, 2024 City Council meeting. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
The record will reflect that all members of council are present.
Fantastic. So today we're going to move up the agenda. Right now shows the presentations and proclamations in the 5 o'clock hour. We're moving that up into the 4 o'clock hour. And we're going to start with Speak Up Newport. And so as most of you know, there's a heavy emphasis this year on recognizing people who are doing some pretty amazing things in our city, specifically folks that we've been referencing as helpers. And so I've invited my fellow council members to nominate folks and groups to recognize them. And so today we're recognizing two groups that Councilmember Grant has specifically identified. And so Councilmember Grant, did you want to say anything before I read the proclamation? We'll go with Speak Up Newport first.
Well, certainly I have been on the board of directors for Speak Up Newport for a number of years, maybe close to 10 or probably more. And it has actually been a benefit to me personally to be able to engage with such a wonderful group of people. And I'm very proud to be able to present or have the mayor present you this proclamation today. Fantastic.
So I'm going to read the proclamation, and then let's see, Ed, why don't you come on up while I'm doing this, so that you'll have the opportunity to also speak after I'm done reading the proclamation. And then anyone here who is a member of Speak Up Newport, you are very welcome to come join us for a picture afterward. I suspect there are a few of you. So we'll start with, whereas Speak Up Newport is a nonpartisan nonprofit organization which started almost 40 years ago as a means of presenting issues of interest to the Newport Beach business and residential community. And whereas Speak Up Newport educates the public about political, social, and economic subjects through monthly community forums, and whereas Speak Up Newport fosters good local government by encouraging and promoting active participation and an informed electorate, and whereas Speak Up Newport is not an advocacy group, does not endorse political candidates or actions, does not seek to directly affect outcomes on issues within Newport Beach, and whereas Speak Up Newport presents the annual Mayor's Dinner, thank you, which is attended by almost 500 state, county, and local elected officials, business leaders, and other influential figures in recognition of the continuity and dedication of Newport Beach's civic leadership. And whereas the Speak Up Newport Foundation grants scholarships to graduating seniors from Newport Harbor High School and Corona Del Mar High School. Now therefore I, Will O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, do hereby recognize Speak Up Newport. Congratulations.
Ed, just real quickly before you say anything, I also want to mention that my council member here, Joe Stapleton, has also been on the board of Speak Up Newport for many years and joins me in congratulating you, I'm sure.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. On behalf of myself and the board of directors, we appreciate this. It's a great honor to receive this. In addition to myself, with us this afternoon is Deborah Allen, board member. Ashley Johnson, I think, is here. Brian McDonough, Jeff Boyles, Tony Petros, John Langford, and Eric Little, and Rhonda Watkins. So those board members could attend this afternoon, and as you said, I hope they join us for the photo opportunity later. One thing I wanted to do was just to give you a little bit of idea beyond what you read in the proclamation, which was very thorough, a little idea what Speak Up Newport is about. So I just took something from our bylaws, and I'm going to read it here to you this afternoon. It says that Speak Up Newport, we'll call it SUN for the rest of what I'm going to say, shall seek to promote the social welfare by educating the public and improving local government in Newport Beach. In furtherance of these objectives, SUN can do the following. SUN shall educate the public regarding a variety of political, social, and economic subjects through newsletters, community forums, and similar activities. SUN shall improve local government in Orange County by encouraging and promoting active participation in government, as well as by creating an informed electorate. And SUN shall communicate with public officials in Newport Beach and Orange County regarding topics of political, economic, and social importance. And so with that, we're a non-political organization. We don't take positions. We try and present information to the public, to educate the public. We put on monthly programs of civic interest. We try and get interesting speakers and interesting topics. We had to shift our emphasis a little bit with COVID, and we started doing Zoom meetings. They turned out to be so successful. We now do combined live and Zoom meetings, and typically can get up to 200 people attending through Zoom and coming to the programs in person. The marriage dinner, as you pointed out, we do that. We do the scholarships. We've got 150 dues-paying members typically, and they get absolutely nothing for that membership other than the privilege of helping support our monthly programs. And we have a board of 16 board members, all hardworking board members. Our organization, we have no staff to do all of this with. Everybody on the board chips in, and we all work hard towards putting on the marriage dinner, which for an organization with no staff to have an event like we had this last month, I just have to say myself, it was quite amazing. So with that, thank you so much for this presentation and this honor, and we greatly appreciate it.
Amazing. All right.
Come on up.
We should probably put that on our website.
Yeah.
All right. So next up is for the little people. I'm looking your way. I do the exact same thing with mine. So we're going to be recognizing Leadership Tomorrow. Councilmember Grant, you want to introduce them?
So first, I'll say that I am joined in having a position on the board also with co-council member Stapleton, and I am just as proud to be a member of the family of Leadership Tomorrow. It is a outstanding organization that has worked for many, many, many years in our city and in other cities to help promote good leadership and to make sure that we have a of leaders that are constantly available in our community to fill so many wonderful positions. And so it's my honor, and I ask Councilmember Stapleton to also join me in the honor of granting you this proclamation.
I would just like to add, I went through Leadership Tomorrow in 2008, and we only had 8 people in our class. And I remember being in a conversation with the then-time city manager of Costa Mesa, and I said, why can't you run government more like a business? And he said, we're going to take away your parks, your beaches, and things that don't produce a lot of revenue. I'm like, maybe not exactly like a business, but it set me on this path to be where I am today. So I'm very indebted to Leadership Tomorrow and all the work that you guys do.
So I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation, but who is going to come up to, awesome, come on up. I'm going to read it, and then the floor will be yours.
Okay.
So, whereas Leadership Tomorrow is a nonprofit organization serving the communities of Newport Beach, Costa Mesa, Irvine, and Tustin, and whereas Leadership Tomorrow's vision is to cultivate, inspire, connect, and empower effective leaders who are engaged, well-informed, and working together to make a positive impact in their community. And whereas Leadership Tomorrow has graduated almost 500 participants since its inception in 1988, and whereas Leadership Tomorrow embraces the values of stewardship to develop, enhance, and sustain our community, integrity to encourage leadership with respect, honesty, and accountability, passion to bring enthusiasm and tenacity to civic engagement, and diversity for cultural competency and embracing of many viewpoints. And whereas Leadership Tomorrow's program continues over 9 months and features a series of workshops targeting team building and leadership, business development, education, transportation and housing, local water sources, healthcare and human services, justice and public safety, the arts, and local government. And whereas Leadership Tomorrow establishes a network of informed peers to creatively address community issues and provide effective leadership. Now, therefore, I, Will O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, do hereby recognize Leadership Tomorrow.
Thank you, Mayor O'Neill and council members. I am honored to be here today to accept this recognition on behalf of all Leadership Tomorrow alumni and board of directors, past and present, many of whom are here today. As Council Member Grant mentioned, I love that you used the word family. Leadership Tomorrow is truly a labor of love for anybody who has been through the program. It is a meaningful and impactful experience for all. We've had several prominent members of the Newport Beach community go through the program, including, in addition to Council Members Stapleton and Grant, several members of our police and fire departments, including both of our current chiefs. We could not be prouder of the caliber of people that are involved with this program. We truly value our partnership with the City of Newport Beach, and we thank you for your continued support for the last 36 years, if you can believe it's been 36 years. So we very much look forward to working with you in the future to inspire a whole new generation of community leaders within the Newport Beach community. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can come back anytime.
I'm known for hello. Quite the reputation, Joe. Quite the reputation.
Sorry. Amazing. Also, super well-behaved kids. Well done. No, they were awesome. Trust me, we've all had them. They're crazy. All right. Madam Clerk.
The City Council of Newport Beach welcomes and encourages community participation. Public comments are invited on items listed on the agenda and non-agenda items. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes per person to allow everyone to speak. Written comments are encouraged as well. The City Council has the discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items.
All right. We'll now move into public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. Would anyone like to come forward?
Only 3 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, first I was very appreciate you give me this opportunity. When I walk in to the door, I was very anxiety, but now I feel you guys are very nice and help our community for 36 years. I live here for 20 years. I'm a resident of the city of Newport Coast. I already talked to Robin and the mayor on air. I think you heard my story. Right now, I just very, very shocked, and I find out the person behind is our HOA president board. I want to come here to encourage all of the residents, whoever have the same experience like us. We were harassed by this person, humiliated for 2 years, and he tried to cover everything by conspiracy. I live in the field. This should not happen in the city of Newport Beach. I know police try to help us, ask us to call attorney or move, but that's not the only one choice for the city of residents. I original from Taiwan. Most of our neighbors, they are not residents of U.S. They are immigrants. They don't speak English. All the people are scared. So I want the city of council please hear my voice, because I already talked to Attorney General Diane Dixon, the mayor of I talked to you. Attorney doesn't work. We need the people to understanding what is HOA. The people volunteer on the board, they are not HOA. They do something wrong, they have someone can oversee. And I encourage you, this council can create a workshop to understanding, to educate people to understanding what's HOA. And then, by the way, when the board violation their bylaw or CCR, they have to be recalled. But most people don't understand recall. And then when I want to do recall, they terminate a management company and change it to different. I try really hard. I decide to move. Unfortunately, a lot of people ask me don't move. My name is Jennifer. Everything I say, I have a proof, because they are afraid they're going to be next. So I hope the city council can create embarrassment, government something to investigate, because the police doesn't have enough power. DA doesn't have enough power. We need someone to intervene for those kind of misconduct. A misconduct is wrongful and lawful, especially happened to Newport Beach for 2 years. I come here, I'm sorry, my English is not good. I'm nervous, but I ask people to come here, they are scared. They don't want to come with me. I encourage you guys to create a workshop for educated people to understanding if those people violation the law, don't move. And by the way, I really want an ombudsman to investigate our situation. I'm very appreciate you hear my voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie. All right, next speaker, please.
Mayor O'Neill, members of the council, my name is Jim Mosher. The first of the two items on your closed session agenda seems to involve a negotiation over the price and terms of payment for Mr. Palmer Luckey to buy a portion of the public street adjacent to his homes at the eastern tip of Lido Isle. This same closed session agenda announcement occurred 3 times in 2021 before a majority of you were on the city council. It came back 2 times last spring, and it's back again today. Yet there has been no public discussion at all of what it's about or what Mr. Luckey is trying to accomplish. And I would assume that if the negotiation is successful, the actual sale or whatever is going on will require some public disclosure of what is happening and approval of it, not to mention a coastal development permit to abandon formerly public property. The point I would want to make is, in the spirit of the public's business being done in public, shouldn't there have been some public discussion of what this multiple discussion in closed session thing is about before the negotiations happened. Otherwise, when something is finalized, the public is going to think that the council made its decision about whether this is good for Newport Beach or bad for Newport Beach outside of the public view, and we're discussing not just price in terms of payment, but whether it's good or bad. That discussion, I think, should have happened first, and then if you could come to agreement on price in terms of payment, that would happen or wouldn't happen. But it seems like it's happening backwards to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Honorable council members, my name is Hein Austin. I live out in the harbor. I'm a mooring owner, and I would like to talk about Newport Beach. For the last 100 years, the city has given a green light to the mooring holders to develop their moorings. The city has made no investments in the mooring fields, in moorings by per se. All the risk was laid on the ownership of moorings to experiment with what is safe and what's not safe, and just collecting a fee at the end of every month. So the public went into extensive lengths to invest in their moorings, to create the mooring fields as we have it today in the harbor. And all along, moorings have transferred and have have accumulated in value. So by standing by and letting the public develop these moorings, the city has effectively endorsed, sanctioned, blessed, affirmed, rubber stamped, however you want to cast this entire mooring system we have in the harbor. And soon there will be a proposal before you to increase these mooring rates by approximately 400%. Many of these people who are on these moorings are retirees. They have Social Security on fixed incomes. And the harbor commissioners have tried to persuade the public how they're going to try their best to make this enormous increase very palatable by spreading this gigantic increase over a period of 4 or 5 years. And the problem we have here is that these Social Security income people who are on their moorings, whether liveaboard or just a regular mooring permittee, they have a problem figuring out how to increase their income by 400 or 500% over a period of 5 years. And I would like for you to remember this question: how will they afford this 400% increase if their incomes do not increase by 400%? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Adam Leverance, kind of following on what the previous gentleman just talked about. I get a sense that there's a big temptation for lots of dollars, at the Harbor Commission meetings. And of course, most people can understand, hey, it'd be great to have just unlimited amounts of money. If that is a temptation, and as the gentleman said, we were thrown at the March 18th meeting, well, we'll spread this out over 5 years. I strongly dispute the data that was used to come up with these, I call them obscene increases. That's all a matter of record. That'll come before you later. But when this comes to you, if you're determined to approve what the Harbor Commission seems like they're going to do, there's a way in which you can split the baby. And what I would offer is that City Resolution number 2015-10 indicates that council can choose not to adjust the rent across the class of permit and can, quote, adjust the rent of only those individual permits that transfer ownership following each appraisal, end quote. The fact that existing permittees, myself having recently become one, were kind of blindsided by this. I have been looking for 15 years and was used to CPI adjustments and revisions and peer permit fees and state land use commission fees. This is just far outside of any of that data. And at a recent Harbor Commission meeting, a couple of commissioners asked Paul Blank, are you telling people about this? And he said, well, no. And they suggested that maybe some flyers be put up over there. it's not right, for one thing. But if you approach it as if Prop 13, any person after this would be aware of what they were getting into and could avoid a potentially litigious situation. You know, I know there's been talk that that's where this is going to go. There are options in the record, and other than what I just spoke of just now, the resolution 2015-10, that'll generate less dollars, but it will also save all kinds of money. The time involved in this to this point, the reams of paper, the city staff time, the reports, the public comment, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me. And again, lots and lots of money, but that should not override common sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Sri Ranganathan. I submitted my item to the council members, but I'm here to be here in person to present it. Basically, what I'm saying is that Code Enforcement Department is out of control. Okay, they are creating or interpreting codes which doesn't need any interpretation. Okay, and in doing so, they are pressurizing the owners to pay hefty fines. $1,000 is a lot of money. It may not be to you guys, but it is a lot of money. Okay. Also, the processes in place to identify non-code compliant short-term owners are flawed, and citation forms sent out are erroneous, misleading, and causing unnecessary stress to owners. I am law-abiding, and I do abide by all of Newport Beach's laws and municipal code. But this is too much. What they did was basically they tried to fill in some dates in VRBO, and since they were able to fill in the dates, they're saying I'm renting to individuals. No, when you fill it in, you got to submit. They never submitted the form. When you submit, we go through and make sure that we do want to rent to these individuals, but that never happened. And on my webpage, it says I do not rent for 2 nights, but just because they were able to enter some dates in there, they claim it's rented for 2 nights. I also state that I don't rent 2 months ahead in time. When the code enforcement officer entered it, they entered it in June, which is more than 2 months in time. So there's no way we would have accepted it. Yet I have to come here, I have to pay a $1,000 fine, I have to file an appeal. All of this is unnecessary time and stress for me. I spent all of last night trying to respond to this code violation. And some outside third-party individual needs to come in, take a look at their processes, the procedures, and how they enforce the code, and make sure it complies with what the code says. The code says basically you cannot rent, let, advertise, or get into an agreement to rent. It doesn't say anything about the code enforcer can go in and enter a date and see if it is available for rent. It is only available for rent if we accepted it and it follows our policies. It's not. So I would urge the council to look at the Code Enforcement Department. It's understaffed, only 4 people, and I don't think anyone is really supervising them. And the way they send out communication is misleading. So I would strongly urge the department to act on it, because I'm willing to take this to a court, to a jury, to let them know how bad it is with the code enforcement in Newport Beach. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. All right. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council will adjourn to closed session to meet with the city's real property negotiators regarding negotiations with Palmer Luckey related to approximately 845 square feet of land adjacent to 929 Zurich and 944 Violito Nord, as well as negotiations with Robert D. Olson regarding the property at 3300 Newport Boulevard. And that's all set forth on the agenda under item 3A. And I believe there's a conflict.
I apologize. Thank you. I have a conflict related to the Violito project, or RDL. What are we calling that? Thanks.
It's the 3300 Newport Boulevard based on campaign contributions from Robert D. Olson, over $250. Thank you.
Almost got it. All right. We'll reconvene at 5 p.m. Thank you. All right, welcome back to the March 26th, 2024 City Council meeting. Mr. City Attorney, do we have anything to report?
Thank you, Mayor O'Neill. There's nothing to report this evening.
All right, tonight we'll have the invocation from Holly Cunningham from First Church of Christ Scientist, Newport Beach, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mayor Pro Tem Stapleton. I should probably have asked, is she here? You know what? I'll go ahead and do it. Please bow your heads. Lord, we ask you first watch over the people of Baltimore. We ask you watch over those people who are greatly affected by a tragedy this morning. We ask you watch over this council, that you provide us with wisdom and guidance as we continue to make decisions tonight. We ask you watch over and bless those who live in our community and those who visit. And these things we ask in thy name. Amen.
Please join me as we give pledge to the greatest symbol of freedom in the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
Also want to note that everyone is present tonight. The City Council of Newport Beach welcomes and encourages community participation. Public comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per person to allow everyone to speak. Written comments are encouraged as well. The City Council has discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items.
Thank you. Now we've got City Council announcements and oral reports from City Council on committee activities. Councilmember Kleiman.
Thank you, Mayor. We did a private tour of the airport with the Newport Beach Foundation DCP alumni, which was a lot of fun, very cool. I attended the CDMRA monthly meeting and will be speaking at their annual meeting, which is coming up on April 2nd at Sherman Library and Gardens. And fun announcement, my son passed his junior lifeguard swim test over the weekend. So we're looking forward to summer with the new building.
Yes, we are. Councilmember Blum.
Nothing. Thank you.
Councilmember Avery.
I attended the Board of Directors meeting of the Orange County Sanitation District and also the Newport Bay Watershed Executive Committee meeting. And I was really impressed by the effort to capture stormwater and diverting stormwater. There's probably 7 or 8 projects going on in Orange County right now to do that, and they're all relatively small projects, but collectively they're capturing an awful lot of water, and that's something that the state's going to need to do everywhere. And the science of it is amazing, and the simplicity of it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wagon.
Yeah, I'm going to go out of the box a little on my usual either no report or a few things that I've done. But I asked Simone Jerzer, our Assistant City Manager and Director of Community Development, to put together some stats for me. The City Manager put some out a couple of months ago related to the public counter and some of the work that's being done by the public going through the building and permitting process. And I thought it was some interesting stuff that she had highlighted, so I just wanted a more updated one. And Simone got his staff to put that together. But they're receiving excellent survey reviews, and they increased from in 2024 over 2023 in all 4 of their categories. Their quality of service went from 81% to 92%. Their courtesy went from 93% to 95%. Their wait time went from 74% to 84%, and their completeness of information from 86 to 95%. So good job on that. I think that's great. Testament to staff, hard work. There's a lot of stuff coming through. If you see some of these issued permits for the month of February, there was 379 in person, 18 online, and 64 through the express counter. Customers that the permit center helped in the month of February, in person was 1,498, and online 213. There's a gray box in 2023, so I don't think we were doing anything online, so now we are. So that's helpful to the public, an additional service feature they have added. Busiest days are Thursdays, and they did 458 on one Thursday. So it looks like their slowest day is always Fridays. On an average, there's about 69 folks that come through. So pretty interesting stuff, but it said that the valuation of issues permits in the month of February is $42 million. That's, so when you're thinking of those in terms of your neighbor next door building something, it's improving your your value of your home just by them doing that. So it is impactful to you, but it will be done at some point. And Simone's staff is there to make sure that it's done correctly, so it doesn't catch on fire or it's up to code. So I think when the wheels of government are working correctly, they should be applauded. And in this case, I think your department's doing a good job. So thank you for that.
Indeed. Councilmember Grant.
Well, thank you, Eric. That was very impressive information.
Sorry, I'm a kiss butt tonight.
A couple of important events that have been happening in the city lately. First of all, we had the Spirit Run, which celebrated its 40th anniversary this year. I once again started the Dog Run and gave the Dog Run Awards, so that was very impactful for me. And I want to congratulate Diane DeRudy, who really devotes so much of her time and effort and her entire team to make the Spirit Run a wonderful event for our community. I also want to recognize last week's Hogue Classic tournament. It is Orange County's only PGA tournament, and it's held at the Newport Beach Country Club. We're very grateful to have that tournament in our community. It's through the incredible generosity of the community that we get to have such a world-class health and wellness service as Hogue in our community. So we're very lucky to have the Hogue Classic, and I was very pleased to be able to enjoy the week's festivities at different times. I attended with our city manager, Grace Long, and with Councilmember Kleiman, the Southern Orange County Women's Business Conference, brought together women in business and elected officials from around the state to network and learn from each other. And finally, the Newport Beach Animal Shelter held its first open Adopt a Pet event on Saturday. As you all know, we have a new animal shelter in the city, and usually it's a little bit harder to adopt a pet, but they're going to start having these regular events where the shelter will be open. There'll be another one on April 20th. People can come in and kind of fast track to be able to adopt a new forever member of their family. So I want to encourage people to support the animal shelter by going to the Adopt a Pet events and picking up pets at that time.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Stapleton.
Report. I also did attend the Distinguished Citizen Program airport tour through the Newport Beach Foundation. I was just fascinated with behind the scenes, what's going on there. I want to congratulate everyone involved in the Corona Del Mar home tour and the CDM home tour. That was really well attended, and I think raised a lot of money for the CDM high school and middle school. The Pyle family has just completed with another contractor, the Fun Zone Arcade. I was at the ribbon cutting for that, so if you haven't been down there with your young ones to check out the arcade, they did a really good job and some real state-of-the-art games there, so that should be a lot of fun. I also was part of the UCI real estate panel with the UCI Center of Real Estate. So that happened at Lido House. That happened at Lido House a couple weeks ago, or I guess last week. That was really well attended. And then Rick Caruso was the final speaker. So it was interesting to hear him talk about what's going on in LA and Santa Barbara and surrounding areas and how it relates to Newport Beach. Also, congratulations to Eagle 4 and the Hogue Classic director Scott Easton. I had the opportunity to go over there on Friday, which was incredible weather, and congratulations to everyone who played in the tournament, including Councilwoman Grant, who did really well. And then just a heads up, polo tournament on the peninsula, May 4th with the Newport Beach Foundation. So if you go to the website, you can get your tickets. Hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're right, Friday was beautiful weather. Sunday was not as much. So Patrick Harrington won. I was on the 18th green to congratulate him and thanked him for bringing the Irish weather with him. It was very cold. We also had, and I will also echo, fantastic job by the groundskeepers and everyone who ran the program this year. Really stepped it up this year, and I know in coming years it'll even be better. I was also on hand to present a proclamation to the Corona Del Mar home tour. This year was 50 years, and they also celebrated with around 150 volunteers and 1,600 people ticketed to attend. So great program by the PTA over there. And then last but not least, I gave a State of the City to the Corona Del Mar Chamber of Commerce. All right, Madam Clerk.
This is the time in which council members may pull items from the consent calendar for discussion. Those are items 1 through 8. Public comments are also invited on consent calendar items. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record. If any item is removed from the consent calendar by a council member, members of the public are invited to speak on each item for up to 3 minutes per item. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine and will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. Council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommended in action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the City Council votes on the motion unless members of the City Council request specific items to be discussed and are removed from the consent calendar for separate action.
All right, council members, anything to pull or note? Councilmember Kleiman.
None.
Councilmember Blom.
I have none.
Councilmember Avery.
I have none.
Councilmember Wagon.
I do not.
Councilmember Grant.
None.
Mayor Pro Tem.
None.
I have none. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move the consent calendar with the amendments to the minutes.
All right, do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Blom. Let's go out to public comment on consent calendar items.
Mayor O'Neill, members of the council, my name is Jim Moser. I wanted to point out that there are two general plan related items on the consent calendar. One of them is item 8, which is a very useful annual report on the progress that we're making towards achieving the goals of our current general plan. One thing you might note is it continues to confirm that Newport Beach has great difficulty producing housing for families in the moderate and low income levels. It's been a persistent problem as long as we've had general plan reports. We managed to produce luxury units. We managed to produce very low income units in some numbers, but not the middle. That is a topic that you may want to discuss at some time if you think we really have an obligation to do that. The other general plan item is number 7, which is requesting you to make an adjustment to the budget because the work on the future general plan of the GPAC, which I'm a member of, seems to be spending money a little faster than was anticipated. The point I wanted to make about that is when you're spending money faster than anticipated, you may be curious what it's being spent on. And when the GPAC was created, you had an anticipation you were going to get a report every 2 months, at least every 2 months, bi-monthly report on the progress towards the new general plan amendments. I think those were at best sporadic, and I think they kind of dried up since last September when you heard a report about how the GPAC was discussing banning ranch and provided some feedback on that. I think you might want to be getting more reporting, probably those bi-monthly reports, both so that you know what's going on and so the GPAC can understand what your attitude towards what we're doing is. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Adam Leverins, agenda item, don't touch that. Agenda item 5 tonight is related to the 38th Street and Lake Avenue landscape improvement project. It's a request from city staff to disregard current bids and provide opportunity to create a wider bidding pool, as they say. The motivation for staff to make that request of you seems to be that the bids that did come in, the low bid is 46% higher than anticipated. I expect that all of us, were we to find that something costs 46% more than we've anticipated, would be somewhat disappointed. So if mayor and council feel compelled to act on that percentage, I'd ask that you keep in mind.
If you're going to speak on moorings, you're out of line.
I can't tie it in?
Come on.
Pardon?
Come on. We know what you're doing.
Okay, I'm just going to say if 46% increase is enough for consideration, what you've heard about that may be coming before you, keep this as a point of reference for context and perspective when that time comes. Thank you.
All right. Any other public comments on the items actually on the consent calendar? All right, we'll bring it back. All right, so let's go ahead and vote. I actually will just note, I actually agree with Jim. We should probably, it has been a little while since we've heard back from the GPAC, so we should probably ask them for an update. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and vote on the consent calendar.
Prior to reading the vote, I'll read the ordinance title for item 3, ordinance 2024-6, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach, amending section 10.8.30, use of public property for commercial purposes of the Newport Beach Municipal Code. Mayor Pro Tem Stapleton. Thank you. The motion carries unanimously, 7-0.
All right, let's move into public comments on non-agenda items. Madam Clerk.
Public comments are invited on non-agenda items generally considered to be within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record.
All right, since they are not on our agenda, if you would like to talk about moorings, you're welcome to do so at this time.
Hello, everybody. Really tired today. We just gave birth to our first child, baby boy, at Hoag Hospital. He'll be our youngest boater for a little while, I presume. I'm super exhausted, so I'm just going to read my comment. I don't usually do that. But I presume that all of you have heard about my presentation at the last Harbor Commission meeting. The Harbor Commission is soon to recommend to the City Council that the city discriminate against harbor users who have moorings or want moorings. So everyone knows moorings are boats that are moored in the water. They do not have a dock access. You have to get to the boat by parking somewhere and taking another boat to get to your boat. It is without a doubt an inferior way to store your boat compared to a boat dock or a slip at your house. As to offshore moorings, we have recently been informed that the city harbor master has recused himself from this planned recommendation after participating in it for months or years. The recent harbor master recusal is due to conflict of interest, we are informed. So far, we have recently found out about conflicts of interest among not just the harbor master, but also concerning city staff, city consultants, and city decision makers who are working on this project. We believe that is inappropriate. And there's a lot of personal financial interests involved. And the more we look, the worse it gets. And what are they proposing? This 400 to 500% increase to offshore mooring charges. As we have outlined in the Harbor Commission and staff, and to some of you, it is discriminatory. It's absolutely unfair, and it is bullying by the city. When I see something that is obviously unfair, it's unacceptable, and I take action. It should not be accepted by the city or its council either. Because of its unfairness, I have personally spent time away from work and from my family to look into this. I've studied this. I've interviewed hundreds of different harbor users. I have made hundreds of phone calls. I've talked on the phone for hours with people about this, listening to their concerns. And there's a simple solution to remedy this fair treatment to this inferior type of boat storage. The city adopted a resolution back in 2015. It was in my slideshow. I know you're aware of it. It is Resolution 2015-10. It is my proposal that we amend to include moorings to that resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and congratulations to your wife, who I guess is probably more tired than you are.
Honorable Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak. There are approximately 6,500 boats in the harbor, and as you are preparing for the upcoming proposal to increase the mooring rates by over 300%, please keep in mind that inequity or inequitability is at stake in this whole enterprise. 6,500 boats in the harbor, 1,200 moorings. You do the math. This means that over 3,000 boats in the harbor are basically parking for free. The financial burden is being placed on the mooring holders to pay and fund the harbor. There are about 800 piers around the harbor, private docks. They only pay for the little 660 square feet or however many feet they occupy with a pier on the water. And the water space on both sides of those piers are free, a free public gift to the homeowners to park yachts of many sizes, 65 feet and small, big and small, for free in the harbor. The city needs money to run the harbor. From $333,000 in 2017, we have now come to $4.6 million. The harbor department was created under the pretense that the city can run the harbor cheaper and better than the sheriffs. So you are going to find yourself with a lot of people that are agreeing with the Coastal Commission, the California Coastal Commission's commitment to diversity, equality, and environmental justice, recognizing that equity is at the heart of the Coastal Act. According to the 2021 Tidelands Financial Revenue Statement, the moorings, all the moorings, the 1,200 moorings, generated approximately $1.3 million. The 3,000 or so boats around the public docks, around the islands and along the perimeter of the harbor, only generated a revenue of $330,000. 4 times as many boats, paying 4 times less for into the tidelands. So I'm asking you to keep this in mind when you're going to be listening to grandiose speeches on how we have to go fair market value, which is not in the granting statutes for the city from the state of California at all. It's only in the city level. The granting statutes are more concerned about equity than fair market value. The granting statutes are considering all the people along the coastline and all the users of this harbor. So as the wheels of government are working on this, and if the wheels of government are being put to work to increase equity instead of reducing equity, I think it's a win-win for us all. Just as the the pledges to allegiance say, justice, equality, and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. If you're planning on speaking, come on up.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Creston, and I just wanted to mention that the mooring increases discriminate against average and below average income mooring permittees while allowing wealthy waterfront homeowners with docks to keep their comparably low fees. The thing about having a boat on a mooring is that you just can't walk out there with the hose and hose off your boat when it's dirty. You have to hire someone to come in their boat, and those people who have the boats, who do the washdowns at the moorings, also have to pay to get their boats in the water. So they're going to start increasing fees. You can't wash your boat yourself. Deliveries to liverboards. Somebody has to be in a boat and deliver their food or their supplies or whatever it is that they need for those liverboards in the harbor. Those rates are going to be going up too for those little dinghies that go out and deliver the food. If you want to do sailboat racing, and granted the participation has declined dramatically in the last couple of years, but if you want to take your boat up to Long Beach with your crew for a race that starts in Long Beach, you have to have somewhere to bring your boat so the crew can get on the boat to go to Long Beach or Dana Point or wherever it is that your race is starting. And in the last year, our mooring spreader line has been run over twice by dinghies or Duffys or power boats or something like that. So then when you go back on your mooring and there's no mooring there because someone has broken your mooring lines, where are you going to go? That is just another issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Mayor O'Neill, my name again is Jim Mosier. Earlier this afternoon, you honored the group Speak Up Newport, and at their meeting last Tuesday, the public heard a presentation from our Community Development Director and Co-Assistant City Manager about the general plan amendments that are coming forward to you on a track separate from the ones that GPAC is working on. These are the ones that will add the 4,845 units to our housing count as required by the state. We heard at the presentation that the staff is working assiduously at preparing this for a ballot measure coming up in November, saying that they were directed to do that by the City Council. I would like to point out that I'm not sure the direction was ever totally clear or debated, and I don't think a majority of the current City Council actually participated in that debate to the extent to which it happened. And I would want to suggest that you may want to rethink whether the vote in November should be the binding green light vote that the staff says that they are preparing, or should be only an advisory vote. The reason is because the green light, which is Charter Section 423, has a clause in it that says this section shall not apply if the state or federal law precludes a vote of the voters on the amendment. And we're being told that the state requires this. You may think we've never exercised this before, but we actually have repeatedly. When the state tells us we need to allow bonus units, which add greatly to the amount of housing allowed under our general plan, we don't put that to a vote. When they tell us that we have to allow ADUs everywhere, which again greatly goes over the green light threshold, we don't put that to a vote. If the state tells us we have to allow subdivision of R1 lots to make twice as many homes as the general plan allows, we don't put that to a vote. So it's not like we don't use this clause in the past. And why would we not want a binding green light vote? The reason is doing that doesn't seem to do anything at all except jeopardize green light. Because if the vote passed, these amendments would go into the general plan. If they didn't pass, as we were told, it's going to lead to lengthy, expensive litigation, the result of which a court will order them being put in and might, in the process, invalidate green light completely or partially. So the outcome of the vote is not going to affect the result, but it could be to the detriment of green light. And so unless you want to put green light in jeopardy, I'm not quite sure I would want to do that. Again, I think this needs a thorough discussion publicly and sooner rather than later, because the decision will be coming up soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I'm not supposed to touch this. Okay, my name's Mike Fleming. I live on a boat in a mooring, and it was brought to our attention that the offshore moorings were going to be reassessed, and then I understood that they were going to be reassessed based on a commercial marina of boat slips, rather than here's a mooring and there's a mooring. Let's look at the yacht club moorings, and then we see that the suggested price for the new offshore moorings is going to be right in the ballpark of the yacht club moorings. Only, I believe the yacht club moorings are, those folks pay to the yacht club. But what does a yacht club pay to the city? Because that's a question I've asked numerous times. And in the last meeting, they asked us to write a list of questions so they would know in advance to answer us. I did. I never heard an answer. I was at the meeting. It was never brought up. There was a big stack of our questions, but I never saw the answers in the questions together. So I still don't know. And when we pressed the Harbor Commission about the yacht club moorings, where a 50-foot boat swings on a single point in a 50-foot circle, or, radius times r square or whatever, the circumference is much bigger than my 50-foot mooring that's on 2 points. And the idea to make more room in the harbor is to take all the guys like me and shove us 20 feet apart and do nothing about these boats that are swinging in these huge circles, much more inefficiently using the harbor. And we still don't know, what is the yacht club paying the harbor? Paying the city. That's where you should say, hey, the offshore moorings are paying this much to the city, and the yacht clubs are paying this much to the city. Let's compare those. I don't know. Maybe the yacht clubs are paying much more, and that's why we're not being told this. But it just seems like there's not a lot of clarity. We ask questions, and we don't get answers. But we get, thank you, your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you. Your 3 minutes are up. Next speaker, please.
My name is Jessie Fleming. I spoke last month, so I won't go over the same things again. But I just wanted, in my last talk, I asked, please just be fair. And we're already paying more for our mooring than any state tideland waters anywhere in the state. But why I asked just please be fair was because there's so many different rates. There's pennies to the docks, maybe dollars to the marinas, and yet we're paying many, many dollars more than everyone else already. So if we need to take care of the harbor department, I understand. We love the community. We work with them. We try to keep it safe. They keep it clean. We work together. Let's not pit each other against each other. Let's keep the people who are there doing the right things, paying their dues, getting our pump out done, all those things that we're doing correctly for the harbor. But yet there's so many more. There's the onshore moorings, the marina moorings, there's the yacht club moorings, there's marina slips. So why can't we all just pay the same amount? And that's what I'm asking, to be fair. I think we start there, see how much that covers for our harbor department, and then if we still need more, let's work together on this. But let's make it equal for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name's Herman Coomans, also a mooring holder. I guess my take on the whole thing is my wife and I have been frugal our whole lives, and being so, we were able to buy a boat that we can be proud of. We live aboard it. It's very comfortable. Solar, we're as good as a home. And we were able to, by looking at the foreseeable future, 2016, Title 17 came down, and they said rates will go up according to CPI. And so we looked at the future and what we could afford. And now we're being told out of the blue it's going to go up 500 times for us. That's about $7,000 a year more for us. Being frugal, I was able to put off my Social Security till 70. I get my first check in April, and you guys are going to take a huge cut of it. The next 10 years, I will have paid $70,000 more than what I'm paying now. That would have been some nice, at least happy hours that I may not be able to take. So I just hope you consider the compassionate side of it. All these people have legitimate gripes about the fairness. I sit and have my coffee in the morning and I see the homeowners that can well afford it more than us. And what they're paying is considerably less than us. And that makes me a little peeved, but I can only ask of you to consider at least the compassionate end also. Thank you.
How many more people are speaking on non-agenda items? All right, go ahead. All right, come on up then, please. I had asked that earlier.
Adam Leverance. The State Lands Commission has what I see as a way out of this when this comes to you folks. And they have a formula where they base moorings. Their formula is 5% of the gross annual income of a boat berthing site. Mr. Netzer did not use that formula. I've heard that Newport Beach, heard or read that Newport Beach has used 6%. Tomales Bay, I've read, has used 8 or 8.5%. Monterey, the highest I've heard is 9%. So if you bump that State Lands Commission formula up to the maximum that I've read of 9% of the return of gross income on a boat berthing site, and you use Balboa Yacht Basin, which is what we're using for comparisons, the most common 40-foot mooring would pay $180.33 a month. That's about a 36% increase, which is far more palatable than a 300 to 500% increase. Here's a breakdown of the math. Balboa Yacht Basin's 2023-2024 40-foot slip rate per foot per month is $50.09. Multiply that times the 40-foot of the slip is $2,003.60 a month. Multiplied by 12 months annually, you get $24,043.20, which is the gross rate of return on the boat berthing site. If you multiply that by that maximum 9%, you get $2,163.89 divided by 12 months of a year, $180.33 per month for an offshore mooring rent. That's not going to generate the millions and millions of dollars that the Harbor Commission Subcommittee wants, but that is a state-approved formula that makes sense rather than trying to apples and oranges this again. and as been said, you know, the current city pier permit fee is like 53 cents a square foot. That's described as fair. Mooring holders pay far more than that. The State Lands Commission current formula from June of 2022 is 45.1 cents per square foot. Offshore mooring holders currently pay more than that. It just seems like the definition of fair by the Harbor Commission subcommittee is quite different than that which a lot of others use. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
This is all a big mess, and I don't really understand it. My name's Dick Andrews. I'm a mooring holder. And this is all about the tidelands. And if you're going to make adjustments to tideland fees, I think it should be over all tidelands, not just moorings. In other words, you're going to raise us, for instance, 10%. The homeowner should pay another 10%. It should be fair throughout the harbor.
Next speaker, please.
Hi, Mike Gott here, mooring holder. I've been confused from the beginning with all this. I retired out here. I specifically chose Newport Beach. It's beautiful. The people are friendly. And I was led to believe when I purchased my mooring that this was a fair, equitable place to be, and we would be treated fairly. And I just feel we're not. The homeowners, I know they bought these big, expensive homes, but they're just, you know, they're just sliding away with these fees, and we're taking it. And we're the little guy. I know there's not much we can do, but I really think that we need to have some fairness and think about why moorings were brought into being to begin with. It was because the rich and famous could have what they wanted, but the middle-class man didn't have anything. So the Tidelands people and the commission got together, and they brought up moorings. So people wouldn't have to anchor consistently. They could have a secure place to go to sleep at night and not worry about crashing. And it seems to me we've lost the spirit of that. It's gone to, you know, who's going to pay the brunt? Well, these homeowners, so they don't want to pay any more money. So they come after the easiest target. It's always us. It's just tiring. I mean, I know you hear us complain about this, but that's all we got that we can do. So that's my complaint. Thanks for my 2.5 minutes or whatever I spent.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into our public current business, item number 9. Do we need a staff report on this? So the only thing I'd like to ask, in advance of this meeting, we received a letter from one of the haulers outlining a series of discussions saying that they had substantially complied. And so I'm going to obviously provide time for public comment on this one, and they're welcome to come up and discuss. But before they do that, I wanted to at least ask, have you had a chance to review it, and what are your thoughts on it?
Thank you, Mayor. Let me introduce Charles Springer. He's a refuge manager, if you've not met him, and he can comment in regard to the information provided to you from Key Disposal. I think you all received this.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time, Mayor and Council. With that,
make sure that's working.
Is it working? Is that better?
There you go.
Okay. Thank you for your time. With that, the response received from Key Disposal was in response to an email I sent to them, summation of the notice of default items that were non-compliant versus compliant. Of the 7 items that were asked as part of the attempt to cure default, 4 of the 7 items were non-compliant. And with that, generator outreach, material diversion, implementation approach, that was just from item 1. Item 2, it's in the nature of how you inspect loads to ensure that material is being diverted appropriately and to identify contents of material being handled. Item 3, it's an Exhibit E, which is an exhibit of the franchise agreement, which provides a referral protocol. So if a non-compliant generator is refusing, or if the hauler is attempting to make good faith efforts toward compliance with a generator or business in this case, that effort should be documented through a series of steps. That document, once complete, should be submitted to the city. We've requested that item, and in lieu of that item, a monthly report, which is a separate report, was supplied. In terms of item 5, updated insurance. So we've had significant insurance issues over time. With that, March 21st, yesterday, as well as today, we conducted insurance reviews to ensure that the road's compliance, we had the same non-compliance issues pertaining to endorsements, incorrect policy numbers on endorsements that don't match the certificate of insurance. So that is a problem. And technically speaking, that is a material breach of contract to ensure that you have compliant insurance. If it's non-compliant in some capacity, which should be maintained through the entirety of the franchise, it is a problem. So those are the 4 non-compliant issues that were brought as part of Key Disposal's response. Partial response was provided from Key Disposal, but there was additional context that was omitted. So questions, please let me know.
All right. Any follow-up questions? Do we have, so I know I'm guessing, are you folks from Key? All right. Do we have anyone from Holloway Rubbish Service Company? All right. All right. Why don't you come on up and, because they're the subject of the hearing, my plan is to give them 5 minutes instead of 3. So unless you think you need more, but okay. All right, go ahead.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to speak, Mayor O'Neill and council members. My company, Key Disposal, has been providing waste and recycling service over in Fashion Island since this one retailer opened up in '95. I'm familiar with all the national accounts because at one point in time we've serviced them all through national brokers. Big chain stores don't allow their local managers to contract for the service. It's all done centralized through a broker. My company provides this service for the waste. At the same time, the broker provides the recycling service. In other words, they backhaul their cardboard from this one retailer to their service building where they sell it. And it's part of the Federated Group. It's over in Fashion Island. They've done it since it was the Broadway department store. They've done the recycling. Since the laws have changed and now organics are required, the broker that we do it for has provided the organic service. So what my company does is service their trash compactor. We empty it and return it. What's in that compactor? We've sent Charles pictures of it. Mostly restroom waste. That's, there's no cardboard, there's no recyclables. They have their organic service. There's been references made that my company's insurance has lapsed. That's just false. It has not lapsed. There's been no lapse in coverage. When the city increased the amount of liability required, we met the requirements. When the city asked for collision avoidance on our vehicles, we put it on. I know it's just one location, but we've been doing it since '95, and we do it countywide, especially Los Angeles County. But we haven't violated anything. And our outreach program is to our contact with the national broker. When Charles reached out to the store and got information from the store, it was incorrect. He went to the manager of the cosmetics counter. That's not the store manager who knows what's going on. After we contacted the store manager, she told us what we knew was happening. If the material is being shipped back or backhauled in their own empty trailers to their service building, where it's recycled. We haven't had a lapse in insurance. I think originally there were 10 defaults. We're down to 4 now. We've met everything. We've done the outreach. The store is in compliant. And all those anchor stores are in compliant because it's managed nationally. It's not left up to the local cosmetic counter person to make the decision. And when he reached out to the wrong person and got the wrong information. Thank you.
Well, let's just stay up here for a second. So let's just work through this because it's not an insignificant task for us to take away someone's ability to do business inside the city.
Well, I appreciate that.
Let's just work through this through. So when we're talking about the source separation implementation plan, And part of that is making sure that there's a series of outreach on a documented going forward basis. How are you going to cure that? So take away the moment of talking whoever our folks talk to. What is the going forward?
Well, I think going forward would be probably best to go direct to the store manager
I
instead
agree.
of the.
Well, no. I'm sorry. I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about us. I'm asking not on the compliant. We don't need to check the compliance side. We do, but that's not my question. My question is, what exactly are you going to do to make sure you're complying with that aspect going
Well,
forward?
I think moving forward, walking directly into the store with the information packet, and maybe if I could get the time of the store manager to go to the receiving dock to take a look at things.
Mhm.
But when we walk in and we talk to the person, we want to make sure we're talking to the person that runs the receiving dock, the store manager, not some department person who is really, not the right person to talk to. Doesn't.
So I understand, sir. You need to understand something from our end. So what we have is we have a series of compliance from the state, and we didn't make up any of these requirements on our own. We would do them drastically differently if we did. So when we're trying to pass through and make sure that we have the ability to tell the state agency that we are holding people compliant, which allows us to stay compliant, because there are real ramifications for a city not to be compliant.
Yes, sir.
So that's why we hold our haulers to standards that are set forth in the contracts, and that's why we go through this on a compliance side. And I would really love for our staff to spend a lot less time on the compliance side. So that's why I'm asking you, sir, when you're working this through and trying to make sure that you are complying with the contract so that we can pass that information along, what is it exactly that you're going to do to make sure that the implementation plan on the education front is actually being handled by the customer, so that we know that and we can pass that forward?
Same as we do in every other city where we're licensed or permitted. We cold call on them, we evaluate what they're doing, we make suggestions, and we give them what the requirements are on the state law. I know it's not the city's just complying with state law. We understand that. This isn't your doing, it's the state's, and this is what we have to do. So part of that is just that outreach program, visiting the store, know what the store is doing, and documenting it. But I think one of the issues, too, it was a big issue, was that insurance. There was no lapse in insurance, and we met the requirements.
And so when the question is, there's a very specific required documentation for us on the insurance side. Have you provided that very specific documentation request? And I understand the no lapse in the insurance side, but we actually need to see specific documents. So have you provided that to us?
My insurance agent provides it to a broker or a consulting firm that the city uses. It doesn't, and that's how it's done.
What is the insurance that we need from them that would allow for them to come into compliance?
The endorsements for auto liability primary, general liability, additional insured. General liability indicates the insurance carrier does not meet the required level. Primary non-contributory endorsement for general liability, waiver of subrogation endorsement. Those are the main ones.
Okay. And do you have those with you? Come on up. Yeah, come on up.
I'm Shelley Katanjian. I'm with Key Disposal. Yes, I have paperwork showing that we have no lapse in coverage, and we have the certificate of insurances. Charles, I don't know what the issue is with the EBICs and us, but I've sent numerous emails, and we got an email back from our insurance. I can send you. I printed out 10 copies for you guys saying that there was no lapse in coverage. We've gotten, we've went above and beyond for Newport Beach. We want to stay in the city. I know we're not air-free by all means, but I don't want to be kicked out of the city. I know it's only one account, but we're willing to do whatever it takes to stay within the city.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. I do. So I just want to point out before I make a suggestion, which is there is a difference between showing that there's not a lapse in coverage and showing the specific endorsements that have been requested. So you're going to need to ask your broker to make sure to send those specific endorsements that we've asked for to us, not a statement that there's been no lapse in coverage. There is a difference. So here's my suggestion. My suggestion is we don't usually have folks come in and actually try to solve deficiencies. We usually have what's happened with the first hauler. They just don't show up because they're done. The fact that you're fighting hard to stay in our city, I'd like to see you stay in our city, but I also need you to comply.
Yeah,
So we've got a meeting coming up in 2 weeks. We've got another meeting coming up in 2 weeks. I'd really like you to, just find the compliance. And if you can't, we're going to have to make the vote because that's how the contracts work. But why don't we give you 2 more weeks? Really sit down and figure out what the specific documentation is. Let's get past the issue of whether, who talked to whom at a counter in Bloomingdale's. There are things in here that I know can be remedied. I'd like to see them remedied. So if the council would be up for it, I'd like to move staff recommendation of the removal of the termination for Holloway Rubbish Service Company and bring this back for a discussion on whether the items have been remedied by Key Disposal and Recycling, Inc., and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Stapleton. So I'm just going to tell you, I would recommend sitting down now, unless you'd really like to say some more. Because, yeah. And then I'm coming back. And then I'll open it up to public comment. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Do I have public comment on this item? No, seeing none. Any other discussion up here? No. All right, let's go ahead and vote. Oh, so just to be clear on what my motion was staff's recommendation of termination of Holloway Rubbish Service Company and a continuance of the discussion on the termination of Key Disposal and Recycling to the next meeting.
Prior to reading the vote, I'll read the ordinance title slightly amended for ordinance 2024-7, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach terminating one non-inclusive franchise agreement for commercial solid waste. The motion carries unanimously, 7-0.
All right, Madam Clerk.
A motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the City Council, either this meeting or the previous meeting, may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
All right, any motions? All right, seeing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you.